Yeah, I was looking on the internet today to find out how many people can actually read music, and not many. Come across a statistic, probably totally made up, that says probably 10% of people, musicians overall, can read music. Um, and a lot of the excluded ones, Eric Clapton, a lot of famous guitarists, singers, there's loads of them. So the problem for beginners is if you can't read the music, how are you going to write the music? Now there's loads of information out there on how to write a song. You need your verse, you need your chorus, your intros, how many bars and all that sort of stuff. What they don't tell you though is if you're going to write a song, you need 7 notes, just 7 notes. So as a beginner that can't read music, and I've never been able to read music, but it's not stopped me playing in bands for most of my life. It's knowing the 7 notes. Now, obviously, if you can't read music, which 7 notes are you going to pick? You sit there and you trawl through different things on the internet trying to find how somebody's given you a few chords. You're following the tabs. How is that song written? That doesn't really tell you how to write a song. But basically, it's very simple. You're given whatever key you're in, you're given your 7 notes, and that is it. And it's up to you to take those 7 notes and make out of that the 7 chords that are in that key. 3 majors, 3 minors, 1 diminished. Now, once you know what those chords are, it doesn't matter if you're the Beach Boys and you've got all those great vocals, all the harmonies dropping in, dropping out. 7 notes. You only sing in the 7 notes in that key. So whatever band you're in, you're doing the same thing. You find your chords. You don't have to play all of the chords. You might only play 2 chords, 3 chords, 4 chords in your song. And then your lead work that goes over the top of it, whether it be keyboards or the vocals itself or guitar, will use those 7 notes. If you're a lead guitarist, a lot of times they use the pentatonic scale, so they miss out 2 of the notes and only play 5 notes. So all those great lead works that you hear, all those great solos you hear, is usually made up out just 5 notes, which probably explains why guitarists have long hair, so they can drape it over the guitar and you can't see how easy it is when they've just gone over the same 5 notes all the time. Basically what you're doing on that one, I'm going into more detail on another video, but what you're doing on that one, you've got your 7 chords. If you're in the major scale, you will take out the 4th one, and I don't even know which one that is, the 7th one. So then you're only playing 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6. They're your 5 notes you're playing your pentatonic scale, and as you spin around and go into different keys, it's always going to be, whatever key you're in, the 4th and the 6th that you're going to miss out. If you're in the minor key, which we're starting here, it's the same 2 notes you've crossed out. So in this case, it'll be the 2nd. You play the 1st, not the 2nd. You play the 3rd, 4th, 5th, not the 6th, but you will play the 7th. But like I say, whether you're the Beach Boys or your band, you play the 7 notes. If you're Beethoven, which you're probably not, because I think you're dead. But if you're Beethoven and you want to do your 5th symphony, and you're working all this out on the piano, 7 notes. So each of your instruments is going to be playing the same 7 notes, and that's all you've got to play with. So once you've figured out what the 7 notes are, and it's easy when you pick it from here, then you can write your own symphony if you want to. I mean, you might think, Ed Sheeran, if he's looping, he's only going to use those 7 notes. He's only going to use the chords within that scale. If he steps out of that, it's going to sound horrendous. And if he is going to step out and maybe take something from another key, borrow something from another key, the loop will stop or move on to a different section, because you can't incorporate that and it'll sound terrible. I mean, if you think it sounds a bit far-fetched, the classical music and all the instruments, there's one guy, and if you've not heard his stuff, check him out. Or if you've not heard of him, he's done a lot of film work, he's done a lot of television work. Christian Henson. Now he's written over 50 orchestral film scores, music for 200 plus TV shows, and a couple of AAA games. Now, he says he's never studied music. Probably not in the conventional form. He must have studied something because the guy's a wizard. And he's been nominated for BAFTA and Ivor Novello awards. And this is a guy that can't read music, says he's never traditionally studied music. So yeah, and he's done it just by experimenting and doing what we're saying here. So the problem is the visualization. If you can see what 3 major chords and what 3 minor chords and the other one that nobody uses in that key, if you can visualize that, which is where this comes in really handy, because when you spin the wheel and you just go, oh, there's my 3 majors, there's my 3 minors, oh, there's the modes. And like I said, most guitarists, keyboard players, or whoever, even if they've been properly trained, professionally trained, a lot of them, I mean, there's some wizards out there. I've got a few friends of mine that are absolute geniuses, and they explain it to me, and I'm just like, no. But most people, they'll just stick to the basics. If you can step out of that, if you can actually have a look and see the scales that you're using, because again, most piano players do, but most guitarists just, they learn some shapes, learn some patterns, they learn a few chords that way, and some of them even have to sit down every time they want to do a lead break and have to actually look at the tabs and do it note for note. And of course, if you know the 7 notes or even the 5 notes that are involved there, and then it might be played at various places up the neck, if you know that and you can just sit down with a song, you're going to pick up, you're going to be able to jam along on the radio, whatever you're listening to, and you can hear 2 major chords next to each other. You've got the D and the E next to each other. Well, you know you're going to be, if they're major chords, if they're side by side, that's going to be the 4th and the 5th chord. So you're going to be in A major. And again, if you hear 2 minors next to each other, it's the same sort of thing. That would be the 2nd and the 3rd chord in that scale. So if you've got a D minor and an E minor next to each other, you're playing in the A minor. So there's all the little clues there, but once you can visualise it, once you can see it next to each other, it just falls into place. There's only 7 notes that you can use. I mean, people will be now saying, yeah, but then there's borrowed chords and there's borrowed this and we do that. Yeah, that's not in the key. You just stepped out of that, and your other musicians are going to have to know that, otherwise it's going to sound really horrendous. So what we've done in the booklet that we supply, it all looks a bit complicated there. What we've done is we've blocked off parts of it. So in the book, I mean, you don't even have to know how to make the minor scales, the major scales, but you probably do want to, because it's interesting to see how that's done. You can just pick this up and just start putting chords together and work from that. So that's what we do from page... Ooh. Oh, we're done with it. Yeah. From page 1... That's the cover. From page 2, we're creating the major scale. It shows you how to do that in every key. Creating a minor scale. How to do that in every key. Then we've gone to page 3, creating the major chords, creating the minor chords, how it's done. So once you do that, you'll be up to this stage here, where this is showing you that's already been done. We're taking out all the notes you don't need. We're left with the notes you do need. Then we get on to a couple more charts. There's the diatonic triads, the chords. Diatonic chords in all the major keys, all the minor keys. Again, this will, once you've got onto the modes, which will come probably much later, you'll see those are the chords that are used in all the modes as well. You're just at a different starting point, but that's something you're not going to jump straight into as a beginner. We then go on to showing you the chord wheel with parts shaded out, so it just shows you the major scale on the outer ring. and obviously the minor scale and the different modes starting at different points. Then the triads, we've opened it up again, a bit less shading. So you see the 3 notes of the triads, and explains how they all work. Then we open the whole thing up, you've gone on to sevenths. Then we turn the wheel round, we do the natural minor scale. And the natural minor chords, next progression. We're getting through to the modes. We explain what the modes are: relative modes, parallel modes. With reference to Christian Henson, I'm not saying that he actually used one of these because these weren't available. I don't know what methods he's used, but it's probably taken an awful long time, because like the rest of it, he's just learned himself or learned from mates, and you build information up that you can then start doing things like that. But it just staggered me that I know a lot of musicians have not been trained and they can't read music and they just play by intuition or nicking somebody else's material. But it just staggered me that somebody like that could have done all that work and have the nominations as a composer for film scores, and he can't even... I didn't know that was possible. He can't even read music, so it gives hope for the rest of us. Yeah, but there's other things as well. When if you like playing, say, dual guitar leads, and you're starting out, and people go, oh yeah, that's the root and the third, or the root and the fifth, or even the third and the fifth. Everything's done in thirds, and you're like, root of what, third of what? But it is, looking at your chords, root, third and fifth. So if you're playing these notes, and it's easier when you sit down at piano and do it in the key of C, that's the easiest thing, and then you can transpose it. But if you're sitting at the piano, go, oh, root, third, fifth, and you can run up and down and find, does a third and a fifth work better, does a root and a fifth, or even octaves, and then find the harmonies that way. So if you were doing the chords, look at your wheel, we're saying the key of D, and we're just going up a scale, so we'll go D, E, F sharp, G. Yeah, a bit boring, but just step up those 4 notes. So if somebody's going to play in thirds, what they're doing, well, have a look at the second ring on the wheel. There's your thirds: F sharp, G, A, and B. If you wanted a third guitarist to play with you, or you just want to play fifths instead of thirds, you'd be going A, B, C sharp, and D. Basically, it's the root, third, and fifth of the chord. So you could find your way around there, stepping back through different notes. Now you know exactly what. And if you're not even playing a musical instrument, if you're doing this on your computer, brilliant. Because you can just take these notes and just drop them in and make your tunes out of it. There's a lot of great software out there to do that. So it's known the theory. Because over the years when we're starting out, and I'm not a singer myself, wouldn't impose that on anybody, but I just sort of warble along in the background sometimes. But knowing that you could sit there and go, if you're singing those notes, I can sing on in thirds or fifths, or you can do 3-part harmonies. And started out, you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing. You sing that, and I don't know what to do on top of it. But you get your scales for that. Do, re, mi. It just, I mean, it takes years and years of research. If you're not lucky enough to be able to get the training, get the tuition, and you're just relying on word of mouth from friends and that, it can take years to build something up. It's easier now, we've got the internet. Something you don't understand, you can go and Google it if you can be asked. But it does save an awful lot of time and trouble, and it really will improve your playing. If you can, it's visualising it. If you can, when people are throwing different notes at you, different chords, and think, well, I've got hundreds of chords to choose from, I've got hundreds of notes, you can now forget all the other notes that you're not going to be using and just concentrating on the 7 that you are. It does make it an awful lot easier if you can actually visualise, especially with nodes and things, how they tie in with each other and how all the different keys will tie in with each other. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.